Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Next Level Women podcast. Today is a special episode because I have three amazing and successful women today who will be teaching us amazing things based off of their specific expertise. So I cannot wait to dive in. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to start with a round of introduction. I'm going to start with Azia, then Irene and Rebecca. So tell us your name and tell us what you do.
All right, so my name is Azia Whitted. I am the founder of Pause with Azia Ranea. It is a wellness resort for ambitious women. So I meet women and help them learn how to pause, or at least what I teach is a pause, which is allowing them to slow down without guilt. So that can look like movement sessions, mindfulness exercises, speaking, doing podcasts like this, but really helping women know that burnout doesn't have to be the norm. For many of us, that is what we think, that exhausted running on empty. So that is where I meet them, and specifically love working with women who are juggling both motherhood and business, because we are exhausted.
Yes, I can so relate to that so much. And that's such an amazing niche. Like just looking at you, the way you present, you look so well put together. And I'm like, oh, I want to be like Asia. So I'm so interested
So
to
it's a
hear
lot of
all of
slowing
you.
down.
Yes. Awesome. So we're gonna come and you're gonna teach us exactly how to slow down. You're gonna tell us more about your work. Uh,
Right.
over to you, Irene. Introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Well, my name is Irene Vaksberg. I'm 57 years old, mother of two beautiful children, five beautiful grandbabies. So I'm really blessed. And what do? I inspire people to not give up, especially in their difficult moment. I inspire them to pray and stay in faith. I had to do that 15 years ago from my car accident. So I know the lonely road of chronic pain. And I also share the magic of the power of prayer and the gift that God sent me that gave me my life back. People need to know about it. Wearable technology is my gift from God, but now my gift to the world.
Wow. Wow. That's so incredible. Like I just had goosebumps when you started talking about God because I have a relationship with God as well. And there are many times in my life where I have had some very deep questions for God, questioning God about the things I was going through and almost feeling like I was alone because as someone of faith, I always felt, oh, if God is on my side, why is he allowing me to suffer? So what you mentioned about how not to give up. I think is so powerful, and I cannot wait to hear your story and how you
I'm
empower
already
women.
crying. It's just started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they call me a crying coach as well. So I was already tearing up when you talked about not giving up. And I think that's so powerful. And if every one of us can just hold on to the hope of success or the future we want to achieve, I feel like it will take us further faster because many people I know have given up, whether on their entrepreneurship dream or on their dream of living a better life. Many people have just settled and they're just like, oh, this is my life. So I think what you do is powerful and I cannot wait to delve in deeper. Thank you for being here, Irene.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Over to you, Rebecca.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Rebecca Morassutti. I am a virtual assistant mentor, entrepreneur, soon to be author. I've been in the online business space for about 13 years now, which is wild. And my mission is to help corporate women specifically start virtual assistant businesses that align with their values and their integrity, ultimately to create a life of their own design. So, exactly what you were just saying, Joy and Irene, like there are so many women out there that are in positions right now that they have been thinking about doing something for themselves for years and years and years and years, and they just can't do it for whatever reason it is. Maybe they can't decide which option it is. Maybe they feel like it's not the right time. And creating that life of their own design is something that they know that they're really passionate about. So I help people do that through virtual assistant work, becoming right hand woman to founders and entrepreneurs just like you ladies here.
Wow, I love that so much. That's truly profound. And when you were just speaking, and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to be on the panelist, because my VA, when she first started with me and we started working together, and I was was coaching her, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things she said was that she almost gave up in thinking that she stuck being a VA forever. And one of the things I was telling her was you can be a VA, and then as you grow in your VA business, you can actually have an agency and then hire other VA where you outsource your VAs to other business owners. And she looked at me with shock and she didn't believe that was possible for her. She's in the Philippines and she's like, she never thought that big of herself. So I
Absolutely.
still love the work you do, and I cannot wait for you to tell us more about how you help women to become owners of businesses and help them dream bigger. So thank you all of you for being here today. For this segment, I want to talk about your entrepreneurship journey. How did you get to where you are today? I'm going to start with Rebecca and then go around the room. So, Rebecca, go ahead and tell us
Mhm.
your entrepreneurship journey getting you to where you are today.
Sure. Okay. So it's a long one, so I'm going to compress it. Okay, so back, like I said, I started as a virtual assistant about 13 years ago. The reason I started my business was because I felt like I was made for more. I looked around my sort of corporate job that I was in. I was an associate director of marketing in my corporate job. And I was just looking around at the people that were working in my office. And I'm like, I cannot be that person in 20 years. I cannot, it doesn't matter if I go work for a different company. I just knew deep inside of my soul that that was not the path that was for me. I wanted more for my life. I wanted to really experience and live everything. I'm somebody who just loves taking a bite out of every single piece of life that I possibly can. And I just couldn't do that in a corporate environment. Even if I was working remotely, it didn't matter. Still, those constrictions were still there. And then I actually discovered van life. So for those of you who are listening who have no idea what I'm going to be talking about, it's essentially where people sell everything they have and they move into a van, a converted van, like an RV. And I was never an outdoorsy person. I never associated with that lifestyle. But for some reason, when I saw that, I was like, that is what I need to do. I have to move into a van. Long story short, I went down this Instagram rabbit hole and I ended up buying my first van before I even left my corporate job. Then it hit a breaking point in my corporate job where I had been promised a raise for like literally years at that point. I had been doing the job of 5 or 6 different people. I was always the person people counted on in my corporate job. And I went to my boss's office to get the raise and she told me it's not happening again. And in that moment, again, something just within me was like, I am leaving now. I went back to my desk. I opened my laptop. I went on Odesk, which is now Upwork. They rebranded since I started. And I landed my first client within 24 hours. And it was wild. It was a wild experience. I had no idea. I wanted to be a virtual assistant. I honestly kind of thought being a virtual assistant was a step down from my current position as an AD of marketing. I was like, why would I be doing this? But it got to a point where I didn't care what I was doing anymore. I just needed to find a way out. And little did I know, being a virtual assistant was like the most aligned path for me. And I was able to move into a van. This is my studio, but I actually live in the van full time now. I've been living in the van full time for the last 3 years. And now I teach other women to do the same thing. So I really started the mentorship part of my business about 4 years ago. And that really sort of stemmed from a lot of women in my life wanting to do what I was doing. I think a lot of people at first were a little bit skeptical. They're like, Rebecca is insane. Why is she living in a van? Why did she quit her job? She had great benefits. She was getting a good salary. She could work from home on Wednesdays, like all these things. And once people started seeing how successful I was, they were like, okay, maybe Rebecca's like figured something out here that we can learn from. And in that, I started discovering that the way that I had been running my virtual assistant business was completely different from everybody else in the virtual assistant space. It was a lot more positioned as like a right-hand woman or like a strategic partner instead of a task doer that just comes in, organize your emails, leave. I was deeply embedded in my client's business. And because of that, I was able to bring in over $144,000 a year in my virtual assistant business as a virtual assistant with only 4 clients. So this still is like something that most people don't teach in the VA space. And it was all just because I kind of figured things out and figured out this process, which is now my Freedom VA framework that I teach to women all around the world. And that's kind of how I got to today, teaching women, to do this, to start their business and create a life of their own design.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love The van life is great, but I would need to hire a chauffeur because I don't drive. So that's the
I
Oh my
think the
God.
beauty of what you do, Rebecca, and I definitely see it, you allow, especially for founders, like to be in their zone of genius.
Absolutely.
I have a colleague, she's a performance coach and a therapist, and she does retreats, and we've partnered together, me on the mindfulness side. So I come in, I bring the play in, the fun, and the calm. But recently, Sheila, when we talk, share more about what I do, but like, I love events. I love being creative.
Yeah.
And for her, that creativity, her brain it doesn't go there. And so listening to you, it reminds me, like recently over the last month, we've been partnering. She's like, I want to do this. And then she just allows me to kind of dream and play, but it allows her to see, and like, she's been able to really make headway. And so I like, as a founder, I appreciate what you do because like you said, like you're not just a task person, and saying that you are focused on aligning with clients and what they're doing in their work. Because I've met a lot of VAs and that's not always the case. So I
Yeah.
commend your approach because
Thank you.
that is.
Yes. I second everything that Azia has said. And as you were speaking, the thought that came to my mind was this is priceless. What you have is priceless. So think back to when you were in that corporate job that you weren't happy and look at how alive you feel now. Like you feel like I can feel the joy coming from you in what you do. And that is so priceless. Like no amount of money in the world can replace that. So I commend you for following your gut. So your gut was leading you. I call him God, but we say gut, your gut feeling. And you followed that voice and now you are where you are today, happy and successful. And I can so relate to everything you said. One of my clients currently, she had a VA from the Philippines and it wasn't working very well. And she had to let her go. But getting another VA has been an uphill battle. And that is affecting her business now because she's not tech savvy. She doesn't know all the technology we use in our coaching business. And now her business is at a standstill until she gets someone in. So the work you do is so priceless, so valuable for founders. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go to Asia next. Tell us about your entrepreneurship journey.
Okay, I think I'm like Rebecca. I have to condense it. So for me, I have a background in dance education, and so I went to school to teach dance. But while I was doing that, my mom was in the eye care field, so when I was in high school, I would go to their office. I got cross trained, and so I always joked when people would be like, "So what are you going to do and dance for a living?" I was like, "No, I'm going to teach. I love working with kids. Always have." And so I always said eye care was my real job, and then dance was my like soul and my heart job. So I worked in eye care for 18 years. I worked with training new technicians, worked really closely with the optometrist, and I loved it. I loved working with patients. I was able to do that and then teach classes. So I taught ballet, I taught modern, I taught a little bit of everything, musical theater. And when I had my two children, it was something where I wanted to pull away so I could be home more. And so I started consulting. That was my first like entrepreneurial venture. And I moved away out of the office full time in 2019. And I was starting my consulting business. I was all excited. And then the pandemic hit. And so no one was bringing people into their offices because they were barely working. And so at that point in my life, I had always done a lot of things. So I always juggled so many things. So I might have been teaching and working full time at an optometry office. And around 2020, I was still doing some consulting and I hit a wall. A little bit of grief. I had lost both grandparents. I hit a wall. And I remember sitting in a session with like a new therapist, and she was like, "What do you do for yourself?" And that was like a key question for me because I listed all these things. And she said, actually, none of that is for you. You do that, that really actually benefits your business. This benefits your family. You do that and you're serving others, nothing for you. And so through that conversation, I realized I was really burned out. I had been doing all these things. I was always on the go, but I never had mastered the art of slowing down. I felt very guilty about taking time away. And so I started my own journey towards what I call was a pause and rest. And then in 2022, what I was doing, I had started teaching yoga to kids, and I was really focused on that. But what I realized was it was great for children. They came, spent 45 minutes with me. They felt all calm. But then they went home, and mom was so overwhelmed that she was snapping, and she couldn't get the time. She couldn't show up the way she wanted to. She wasn't mothering the way she wanted to. I was meeting other women in business who had their own businesses and companies who were saying, I just want to stop. I want to give up. I want to run away and go live in a van. I want to go live in a cabin. I love to go live in a tiny cabin. And by the way, Rebecca, like that would be my dream. Put me in the forest.
We can talk later. Yeah.
Yes. Like as soon as you said van, I was like, yes, please. But like I realized so many women were struggling with that feeling of being overwhelmed and burned out. And so I started taking the mindfulness practices that I was living by, that pause of taking like time for myself, realizing I was a priority, having to set some new boundaries. And that was when I created Pause. And for me, when I first started it, even with the thought of mothers at first, that was like the first core part, was knowing that if I could teach a mom how to show up for herself, like healthy mothers raise healthy children, and then healthy children have healthier generations. So where we're taught to just go and give and give and give, we run on empty. And so that is where my work started. And over the course of the last 4 years, I've been able to speak. I've been able to work with some amazing women, mothers and founders alike. And it's really just been a passion project, but I've been able to make some amazing collaborations as well, where it's been able to grow and bring in income, and but also really serve something that I see a need. So I love what I do. I love speaking with other women because we need community, but it's something we're not. Now people are learning more like, okay, I'm going to check in. I'm going to do a little somatics. I'm going to listen to my nervous system, because that's now like a big like buzzword. But 4 years ago it was not. Like I have stuff to do. My to-do list needs to get done. But realizing, even Irene, as you're talking about inspiring women not to give up. So many women are giving up because they're physically, emotionally, they're just burned out. We're not handling our stress. We're not listening to our bodies. And so that is the foundation that my work is built on.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And I think the reason why all the buzzwords you just mentioned, the reason why many people are now paying attention to nervous system and mental health is because of like what has happened in the past, right? Many women have gone to the place where their mental health is starting to struggle. And I think as a society, we are now aware of the value of our mental health. Without a sound mental health, we have nothing. Doesn't matter how much wealth you have, if you're not healthy, none of those matter. So thank you so much for the work you do. And it's so needed. And I cannot wait to hear exactly how you work with women. And I know many people listening right now will want to take advantage of that offer. And one thing I want to say, isn't it so beautiful how all of us on this call, we've created businesses based off of our own experiences. And it's so beautiful how, as women, we can leverage our experience to help other people and create impact, create income. So if you're listening to us right now and you're stuck thinking about what kind of business to start, this is your sign. All of these three amazing women have created businesses based off of their experience. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I'm going to move on to Irene. Talk to us about your entrepreneurship journey.
Well, mine started at 11. I knew that I was going to be a hairdresser at that young age. And it's a beautiful journey for me, because I was in that tunnel, and I came to the United States at 12. I was born former Soviet Union, and my father said, here you go, I brought you to a land of opportunities, go get it done. And I took it literally. He said, it won't be easy, doors will get slammed, people will make fun of the way you talk, but you can do it. And that's it. So that was the journey. At 16, I started doing hair. I went through vocational school. When I graduated, I had my license. I moved to Los Angeles at 18 to work for Josiah Bear. If you're my age, you know who he is. He was my idol. Job. in his salon. It was a dream come true, but it didn't align with my mission. My purpose and my passion is to help women and people. And I could not see myself selling, cutting hair for canned goods or books or, raising awareness for homelessness. And I was like, thank you so much. I did it. I had to build that confidence to walk in a place like that. And I said, I'm going to go. And I said no to really a lot of money. But I don't wake up for money. I wake up for mission, purpose, and passion, and inspiring people. And money just comes along when you align yourself with that heart and soul. And so I built an incredible, beautiful business that I could do haircuts for canned food, and I raised books for reading to kids. And the CEO said, as one entity, I'm very proud. And the reason I'm sharing is because you can do it too, right? Like if I could do it, you can do it too. One human being inspires another. That I raised more books than corporate companies raised for that organization. I did it for 5 years. And the American dream came true. I had my own salon. I saw my name in lights, and that was my little heaven. On one side, the hairdressers, the youngest one was 65 years old, and the oldest was 82. I kept them there, and the other side was mohawks and ear piercing, and it was such a beautiful thing to see the little pink curls and the wisdom that came from that place. And I accomplished that 4 years earlier. By 37, I sold it and divorced. My child needed some assistance, and life goes on. And so in the end of the day, it's all about serving people. And that journey kind of ended with a car accident, and I had to pivot and find a different way to create money. And working for myself and being in that entrepreneur mindset, I already had the tools. I just had to find the right project, and I did. God sent me my wearable technology that gave me my life back, and back right into that serving others, right? Supporting human beings through their most difficult moment. And that's how was my space in my salon. In my chair, it wasn't just a haircut. We literally had a therapy session. And I love my clients. They're like, Irene, you've done more for me for $100 than my therapist for $250. Can I just book a blow dry? And so, we built a beautiful community that, each one of us took us to the next level. Divorce, babies, they're getting married, getting grandkids. So, the journey has been beautiful. And, this country has given me a lot. And I'm grateful to be here and to live my best life. Being my own boss, that's the most I can't imagine doing 9 to 5. I knew that from a young age that was not for me. So I want to inspire women, especially single mothers, because I basically built my six-figure business as a single mother. And Asia, it's so important. Like what you do is so important. I always told them, please be gentle with yourself. I had to learn that first, right?
Yes.
That I carried babies and the business, and I'm one of those women that probably, I'll be honest, probably should not be a mother. I was all into my salon, into my building my community. And but anyway, I get so excited. I don't know when to stop talking, but thank you for listening. And I hope I inspire others to go for it. No matter where to begin, it's the journey that matters.
Absolutely. I'm already inspired listening to you, Irene. I love your zest for life.
Thank you.
And your joy, like what you exude, like it's so beautiful. And one thing you mentioned as you were speaking is you had to learn how to create money. When I talk about creating money, people always say, oh, we make money. But I love how you said create money. We get empowered when we know we can actually create money. So thank you so much for that. And I love your business. So I want us to go around the room and tell us about your expertise and the business you do. So, Irene, I know you mentioned your wearable technology. Tell us more about that wearable technology and also tell us about how you help people not give up during difficult times.
So I share my story every day, 100 times a day, on every platform you can imagine. Losing my salon that I built it as a single mother, it gets me emotional. It was very difficult. I was booked solid, and 3-4 months in advance for people to come see me. And that was I couldn't believe that I did that. And to lose that, it was really hard. It took me years to be able to open that appointment book and see it empty. Because not only I lost financially, I lost a community. Because each person that sat in my chair, sorry, it was something special. They chose me, right? They chose to sit and share the most vulnerable experience, and they trusted me, not with their hair only, but emotional being. So it was really hard. And literally, I wasn't looking for business. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to be left alone. The pain was so incredible, and it was so difficult. And I sat there and I said, what in the world can I do? I can only cut hair. I have no other skill. I can't spell to save my life, so I cannot be in as answering the phone or doing anything that has to do with all of that. And I was just like, I felt useless as a human being, as a mother. And I prayed to go, actually. I prayed to God, you want my broken body. So God didn't want me to pray to go. God wanted me to pray to stay. And when you feel so broken, you can inspire others. And until we get through that space, we don't understand it. And I had to apologize to a few people because I'm a very strong human being. I've been through so much. And my glass was always overflowing. But at this time, for first time in my life, my glass was so empty, it was crumbling. And I had some really tough words with God. Yeah. For the first time, I said, why me? I'm so tired. Why me? And not only did he take my mental, physical, and emotional, financial, everything was gone. Like I was on empty. And so I prayed to go, and God said, no, pray to stay. I want you to pray for that miracle. So I did. I prayed for that miracle, and he answered. And wearable technology is this little patch. It's drug-free, non-invasive, no chemicals, no side effect. It started in a pair of socks. And the technology is woven at the bottom. A friend of mine gifted to me, and it changed my life. And as in my prayer, what I asked, he delivered. And I said, not all. That's just one little part. But my biggest message is that I want people to know that power of prayer is real. And God walks with us. And I'm a spiritual person. God walks with us even when we don't feel them. And that, don't give up. Organize, reset, take a break, give yourself grace, understand that it's a journey to healing or finding yourself again. So that is my message. This is what I do. And then the technology comes in together by saying, well, if you're struggling, I can help you. If you're looking for something to calm your nervous system, I have something that does it in 7 seconds, and there's no drugs. And I become their coach, helping them, basically helping them through the process of incorporating this into their life and being their support system. And it became my business because doctors only promised me a wheelchair. And I traveled the world and share my story. I'm not in the wheelchair. I'm back to salsa dancing and inspiring others to say your difficult moment doesn't define you. It gives you your superpower. And you're not buried. You're planted for something so incredible. You don't even realize it. And people say, would you do this again? Would you go through that again? Absolutely. Because it brought me to this incredible platform where I shine bright together with all of you. So yeah, that's what I do. Inspire people. I'm not a coach. I'm not anything. I'm something, meaning we're all something. I'm a human being inspiring others, letting them know they can do it with an accent or not, or misspelled words, but the message gets out there and it's clear and loud. Go do it. Go get it done. Sorry, I probably talked a little too long, but I get so excited. I don't know when to stop. I just want to inspire you all to not give up and have faith. God got you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. I love your story so much. And like I said, I am so inspired by your story and what you've accomplished. And when you talked about going through those difficult times, now you can see that you went through so you can help other people. But what I have found is when we are in the pit of the valley going through the thing, it's very hard to understand why until we get out. Now, I want to encourage people who are listening right now. You might be going through a dark time in your life. I want you to be inspired by Irene's story. And when you talked about God being there all the time, I remember as a kid, there was this story my parent told us, and it was um, someone who was walking by the beach with God, and there was the footstep of the human with God. And then at some point in the person's life, they were going through deep pain and tribulation. And they noticed that it was just their footsteps, like their footprints in the sand. And so this human looked up to God and said, "You were with me all along. And then when I was in this deep pain, I can only see my footprint. Where were you?" And God said, "It was because I was carrying you in my hand. So the footprint you see."
Loved how you said that you were planted and not buried. I think when you spoke that jumped out at me. Part of my story, getting to that therapy session, was on one side of grief, probably like my first real touch with grief. But 4 years ago, when I really stepped out and really made the decision to trust and to take up space and share, was after losing my dad. And my dad was my person. And Joy, when you're talking about those footprints, I love that. I have a bookmark somewhere with it, but of that spot where God literally was carrying me. It is in those moments. And I think we sometimes have to, we don't, some of our lessons we learn aren't always on the side of a storm or a struggle, but it is beauty when we can find purpose in our pain. We can find purpose in those hard moments. So I love that you shared that, Joy, and I love what you're doing, Irene. Keep being a beautiful walking testimony. I wanted to stop you when you're like, "I'm not a coach. I'm not you know, you are. You are exactly who God created you to be, and you are doing exactly what He created you to do."
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So amazing. I do apologize for being emotional, but yeah, thank you so much, Azia, for taking over there. I couldn't get myself back.
I'm
No,
I was
sorry.
trying to come back emotionally, but thank you for stepping in there.
But the
no,
emotion is good, and that's one of the things that I've learned, that we don't allow ourselves to feel. And the beauty of all of this, that we must cry and we must let go. We can't live in toxic happiness, and that's where it destroys our soul, right? And we need to give permission to humans to cry and express single emotion. And the beauty of my being a hairdresser, I experienced all of those things with my clients, so it gave me a little bit of permission to do it as well. So this is beautiful. What we have at this moment is incredible. Please, I have to stop apologizing for crying too, because I do it all the time. But I have to remember, it's healing. We're healing. We're allowing others to heal with us as we do this. And thank you, Joy, for doing this and having us here as this beautiful spirit of women here sharing.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much. And I got so emotional because when I think about how loving God is, and because as I was speaking, I was going back to my own experiences when I was going through hard times. And now I can see how God actually had me in the palm of his arms. So that story really resonates with me. And I know that that time when I was in the darkness and going through the stuff I was going through, God was holding me in his arms. And so I just hope that this brings encouragement to people to know that there is a higher being taking care of you, even though it feels like nobody's around you. So thank you so much for sharing that. And it's such a beautiful experience, especially when a higher being visits us. Like I just feel this conversation, like I can feel goosebumps. That's because it's special. It's not just a physical conversation. So I hope this blesses people listening. Over to you, Asia. Tell us about your specific expertise and how you help women.
Okay. So I think for me, my my expertise had to literally come from walking through it. It's one thing of learning and studying, but it's different when it's a lived-in experience. And for me, when I first started Pause, one thing in the beginning, I was very much like, I just want to create. I just want to put out tips. I want to share with women like this is how you set boundaries. These are ways that you can practice mindfulness in everyday life. And in the beginning, I realized it was not connecting. And what I had to come to terms with, and a little bit of even Irene, like I found myself in you, that relatability of figuring out that my voice mattered in the story. I never had an issue showing up when I was working in eye care and consulting, when I was dancing or teaching. I was fully capable and fully comfortable in that space. But when it came to sharing this part, it was a moment. It's probably took me a good 6 months where I was like, okay, my story matters. And when I finally started sharing, okay, the reason I can tell you about how to beat burnout, how to protect your peace and your energy and your purpose is because I've had to literally walk through it myself. Those 2 years from 2020 to 2022, and then really probably 2020 to 2022 to 2023, when I was literally living in every day where I was waking up and like, okay, I need to have quiet time. I need to journal. I need to get outside. I need to really pour in. I have to make myself a priority. That was what connected to women. So when I could tell another mom, hey, I see you. I know you are overloaded mentally because you were thinking about, what do I need to pack? What needs to be in the pantry? I have an email I need to send. I have a call I need to get on because you're also running a company, or you're in corporate, or you're just even working a 9 to 5, whatever that looks like. I see you because I am you and I've been you. And I'm still finding, like, in every season, it changes. In every season, I may have to shift what my tools look like. And so when I work with women, I literally pull them and I'm like, okay, tell me about your day. I'm not going to tell you to wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate or pray for 3 hours, because realistically, those tools don't always work. You may not have 3 hours, but do you have 10 minutes maybe while you're driving after you dropped your kids off where you can take that time and just get quiet, or sit and have a little gratitude practice? Can you take 5 minutes at the end of the day to journal and really think about tapping into, how do I feel? What tools can you put into play in your day? Because I think as women, we wait until we've hit the wall, or we've burned out, or we're exhausted to like, oh, I'm fully empty. And Irene, when you talked about being the strong woman, like, we're all so strong. We are all taking care of communities and family and friends, and even whether you're a parent or not, I guarantee you there's someone who's coming to you. Even Rebecca, when you said you were the person that everyone relied on in your office, even at work. And we don't speak a lot of how draining that can be. It feels good to be needed, but there's a cost to that. And so giving women the permission to be like, hey, I am tired. I am exhausted. I would like to go away. This past Saturday, like, I knew I had a busy week. My kids had busy things. I knew I was exhausted. Saturday morning, I got up, I found a trail, and I just sat outside. And it was beautiful, but that was how I poured back in. And so giving women those permissions to, okay, what does your pause look like? What does pouring back in, not just when you're empty, but every day look like? What does that look like for you to set boundaries where you're really focused on, not only am I capable of this, but do I have capacity? Because we don't talk about like the actual capacity to do certain things. I think about that with Rebecca when you're doing your VA work. The founders, yes, they can send the emails. Yes, they can follow up on invoices, but they don't have the capacity, because that little bit of energy they're expending on those tasks could be put in something else that only their brains can function and create and dream up. And so that's how I work with women. I really want to help them design a life that works for them so that they can show up as the mothers they want to be, the business owners, the founders, whether they, no matter what they're doing in their life, they have a purpose, but I want them to be able to see and walk through that purpose fully. And so making sure that they are a priority and they're taking time for themselves, and not so much on like just the physical side, but even like the soul care. We always talk about self-care and people think like it's a spa or hair. No, it's the inside. Like, where are my emotions? How am I feeling today? Does my body need rest? Does my mind need rest? And so coming along and partnering with them so we can really look at like, hey, what would it look like for you to really like take a moment? Don't stop, because we all have things we're supposed to be doing. I joke and say I am the hyperest, busiest calm coach you will ever meet. I won't even get on my mat for like a long time because I love to move. I love to be doing things. But I also have learned the art of pausing.
Wow. The art of pausing. I love that so much. And something you said really stuck with me about how you just went outside and spent time outside. And I remember I was on a trail and I found this incredible park. And I just went to the park and I laid down on the floor and I just closed my eyes. And I just allowed nature to just sweep on me. And it was the best experience of my life. In the middle of a busy city, I just found a quiet place. And I'm sure people were looking at like, is she crazy or something? But I just didn't care. And so I love what you help women create because when we take care of ourselves, we get to show up better for our families, our businesses. So thank you so much for that.
Everyone needs to go touch some grass.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rebecca, over to you.
Mm-hmm. So I have a very wide variety of expertise. But what I tend to focus on when I'm working with my students is understanding how to actually create a really intentional business that supports the life that you actually want to live. And part of that intentional business is learning how to actually take time and like step away from the business. Part of that intentional business is understanding what your values are. Part of that intentional business is thinking back to when you were little and what things did you love to do. Like you were mentioning, Asia, like doing some of the creative like aspect for somebody else's business. Like a lot of the time when we put ourselves in, when we think about, our life and we're told from a very young age what success means, right? Go and get a job, go to school, buy a house, get married, all of this. Everybody knows that's not how it is anymore, but we still have this programming in our mind. So when we have that feeling like we want to do something different, and then we even take steps to do something different, that internal programming is still there. So for a lot of the corporate women that I work with, they come and they try to start their VA business in a way that makes sense to them logically, but actually doesn't align with the life they want to live. And this was my own experience too, right? When I started my VA business back years ago, for the first maybe 2 years of my business, I was struggling. I was working like 60 plus hours a week because I cared so much about my clients. I wanted to pour myself into their business, but I was making like no money. I was charging super low rates. Like, I can't even believe it now when I think back, but it's all because of this narrative, right? That we have that even being an assistant, oh, you must make less money than the business founder because you are the assistant of that person. When in reality, VAs are the backbone of the online business space. The online business space would literally not exist without us. So I realized that a little late in my VA journey, about 2 years in, but at that point, most women actually leave their VA business, right? And I was seeing this with sort of my colleagues. I was working with business owners who had other VAs that were going back to corporate jobs. I was working with business owners where their VAs were getting paid $6 to $15 an hour and they were living in Miami or living in New York City and they weren't even able to make their cost of living. Meanwhile, they are like busting their butt for these businesses that they're working with. And for me, that just didn't feel right. And I knew that the other flip side of it was that the business owners didn't know anything different. They thought that was like, okay, because the business owners are also in this mindset of like, a VA is my assistant. A VA should be $6 an hour, $15 an hour. Like we have these things in our mind. So throughout my years as a virtual assistant and evolving my VA business into something that actually supported the life that I want and the values I had and the integrity that I brought into the world, I realized I got to see both sides of the VA experience and the client experience. And just like I think, Joy, you were mentioning earlier, how hard it is to actually find that amazing support, right? It is like literally impossible to find somebody that cares about your business just as much as you do in the online business space. That's what business owners crave. And that's what virtual assistants want to be for their clients, but both people are operating in they're going completely opposite directions trying to come to each other, right? Based on the way that both industries are sort of set up. So from that perspective, that's where I sort of developed the framework that I work with in my students. So I run a mentorship business. It's a sort of hybrid group mentorship program where I work with between 30 to 40 women at a time. I have different sort of levels of the program, teaching them how to not just become virtual assistants, but how to become right-hand women that business owners can partner with, can collaborate with, and can depend on. And also how they can intentionally design their business, how they can choose the clients they want to work with so that they can actually create a business and life that they love every single aspect of. And that is like my purpose here. And corporate women specifically, like I mentioned earlier on, they are perfectly positioned for this role because they are literally doing it right now in their job, but they're being underpaid, undervalued, and they feel like their creativity and the things they want to do are just being stifled working for somebody else. So when you bring that woman, that amazing woman who has climbed the corporate ladder, who has so much drive and ambition and has so much project management experience, like all the technical skills as well, you just get somebody as a business owner, you find somebody that you will keep in your business for years and years and years. I actually still, to this day, work with my first VA client ever. I work with her in more of a business consultant capacity now, but I still work with her to this day. It's been 13 years. So
Awesome.
that is the type of relationship that I wanted in my life as a VA supporting business owners. And that is the type of relationship business owners want too. They want somebody who's in it for the long run, who's like committed to their business. And it is literally impossible to find, right? If any of you have tried to find somebody, I can guarantee you it has been a hard struggle and you've likely settled for somebody because there's no other option. And that to me, like I said earlier, knowing that VAs are the backbone of the online business space, that's just unacceptable. And I'm here to change that.
Oh, Rebecca, I love it. I want to become VA.
Come on, ladies, let's go.
Yes, she's making me look at how my collaboration with my therapist were like, okay, like even listening, like I think what's worked so well is because I love what she does and I've seen her work. Like I've been able to like even be at the retreats when I'm not doing the yoga movement. I see the work and I deeply believe in it. And so it's been really funny, like us working on these projects together because on the side there are some VA qualities, but it doesn't feel that way because I am so invested in what she does. But I enjoy that you're pulling women from corporate because I think for how we've seen VAs, everyone's looking like, okay, you're not up here, you're somewhere here, which we should never be compared. But everyone's thinking like, okay, well, you are just that little assistant, like maybe not physically in the office running to get coffee, but no, you're just sending the emails. You're sending my email somewhere and then that's it, you're done. You don't care about the work I do. Our missions don't align, our values don't align. And I think for your VAs, they're probably living very full, happy lives because they're working with people that they actually gel with and meet their own personal mission.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And to that point, it's like, you know, what you were saying earlier, Asia, too, about the design stuff and how you really complement her well, that also comes into building this life of intention, right? It's like, for me, I had a VA client where I was actually going and doing in-person retreats and cooking for her because I love cooking and I love doing events. And no one I would have ever thought a virtual assistant would be doing those things. I had another client who I was doing like website design and things for because like that's the support she needed. And she taught me how to do it. And I love doing that kind of thing, right? So it's just, there's so much opportunity to literally do everything that you want and combine it into one business. And Joy, as you were saying earlier, the VA agency model is only one of those pathways. I have students that go on to start big companies because they've worked with these business owners that they love. They've learned from the business owners. And now they're like, okay, I want to start my own thing. Just like me with my clients, right? When I was transitioning out of being a VA for my clients, every single one of my clients was like, oh my God, Rebecca, we are so happy for you. We can't believe you're going to do this. Like, and because I had poured myself into their business, they're like, if you need anything, like, please let us know. And just that support and that community also, having that partnership instead of feeling like in a hierarchy, it builds your community and your sort of confidence as well to go and do literally anything else that you want in your life.
You're blessing. Oh my God. Rebecca. Amazing. Like you're right. You're the backbone of most businesses and you run it. You probably do more than the owner and and you should be valued and you should get paid for that time and experience and knowledge and incredible. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Good for you. You know, we women entrepreneurs, it's a fabulous thing and it's not hyped enough. Like truly. Have the roles that our, you know, parents as we grew up told us, right? It's getting married, have those babies, cook, clean, you know, and we're like you said, it's not normal per se. Oh no, Rebecca, you were saying how it's, you know, old school thinking, but yes, that old school, that it didn't work for me when I was 16. It definitely doesn't work for 7. No. That we need to speak more about it. Go after your life. It doesn't have to be a cookie cutter. You know, my little saying, I say, we're not copy and paste. We Mona Lisa.
Exactly.
You know, stop being that copy and paste. Stand up and shine bright. And you're all doing it. But this is so good. I'm so inspired.
It's hard to do though, Irene, right? It's hard to do, especially the women that I work with. They've been in a corporate and they've been in that traditional environment for years, potentially decades, right? So to break out of that, I call it corporate washing, to break out of being corporate washed for your entire life, from the moment we're in, you know, elementary school to high school, this is how you apply to a job, this is how you do this is how you are successful. even when you start doing that, those mindset things pull you back. So I think that's why also, like, I love what everybody's doing here, because I think it really is also tapping into that mindset of giving permission, right? Like, you can do, if you want to go lay in the grass in the park, like I do that all the time. All right. I love it. Go and do it. Right. Like, if you want to take a break or you want to take a week off, go and do it. Right. Like, you can do it. If you want to design your business and only work with graphic designers, or you want to work with all different people and you don't want a niche, go and do it. Right. But it's easy for us to say because we've done it and we're like, this is great. Like, I don't know why everybody else isn't doing it. But for people that are thinking about starting businesses, that are in that corporate mindset, that have been told there's a very certain way to do things, there are rules to follow, just saying like, hey, you actually don't have to follow those rules. It's like, it's a big, like, mind-blowing thing for people to think about, right?
And then if you throw in culture, right?
Yes.
So that becomes a whole other, bucket full of worms. I was like the black sheep of the family in the culture. I'm not a doctor, not a lawyer, not a professional. I wanted to have a salon and cut some hair. So, I was like judgment too. And then until they realized I was making $80,000 to $100,000 a year, they're like, oh. Right. Wow, really? Yeah. I made more money at one time than my sister did as a lawyer, and she had debt. That she might be still paying for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Tia.
it even falls that way, I feel like, even in the coaching space, because I stepped away from doing one-on-ones because for me, and this has even been back when I was teaching dance, a thread in my life, I love being that connector. I love being that collaborator. And I think the side we see of women entrepreneurs is hustle. You're starting to see more like networking and things, but like genuine like support, especially for like Rebecca, what you're building with like your VAs and really coming alongside these women or even business owners, is that collaborative piece. And so I remember when I was talking to someone, I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily love one-to-ones. I was like, it's great. I said, but it puts me like in this authority. I'm talking, you're listening. I said, I love a group. I love being able to even collaborate like with how my colleague are. We work well together. I love taking what we both do and finding how it meshes, but like really supporting each other. And so I love that you're even in like including that camaraderie and that community with your business.
Yes. So true, Asia. And to the point you were making, Rebecca, when you were talking about like you did this and you were like whispering to someone and you were like, you can actually do whatever you want. And so many women, it sounds very foreign that you can make money and be happy. It's almost like we have been taught that they are mutually exclusive. And so I love that you are emphasizing that we get to choose. We get to choose and design the life we want. And when you said that, it just came to my mind. So I'm a full-time coach. I do this full-time. And my calendar was just so open for everyone to like book their calls for the weekend off. And I was struggling with my exercise and having time for myself. And it's almost like I had an epiphany to like say, I can actually block my calendar. And what I did was I blocked my calendar from morning until 1 p.m. So now all of my calls happen from 1 p.m. until I pick up my daughter. And like now I'm beating myself up. I'm like, why didn't I do it all the time? All the time I've been allowing people to book calls at all hours of the day. And now my life is so much more better. I have so much hours in the morning before I come downstairs and coach people. So people get to book all of their calls in that hour. And it just completely transformed my life. And we get to choose. We get to choose how we live our life. We get to design the kind of life we want to have. So thank you so much for pointing that out.
Yeah,
I cannot
and
believe
designing a business too, right? Like it's so funny. I had a call yesterday with a new student. And she right now is a VA. She's working hourly. She has like 3 clients. And one of her biggest challenges is that she gets clients and then, 2 months later, she has to find new clients because they're just cycling through. There's many reasons why this happens, but for this specific reason, I threw it out there. I'm like, well, why do you only work month to month? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, why don't you sign like a 6-month contract with somebody? And like, just that, like you could see the wheels turning. She's like, wait, I can sign I'm like, you can sign not only a 6 month, you can sign a year. Like when I was working with my clients, I was signing year-long contracts with them where it's like, now I have my income essentially guaranteed for the year. I know I'm going to be supporting them. I'm able to like let go of having to find clients and think about all that. And I'm really able to focus on the business. I'm like, you can do that too. And she's like, Rebecca, that just blew my mind. And I'm like, girl, if that blew your mind, just wait.
You were in for it, right?
I love it. Great.
Oh my goodness, I love this. Like I was just gonna say, I can't believe the time. We're already an hour in.
Wow.
But before I let you guys go, I want you to tell us about what you would attribute to your success today. What has helped you to become successful? I'll start with Asia and then Irene and then Rebecca.
As I'm thinking, what has caused me to be successful? Okay, I would say continuing to always be a student and always learn. Because for me, it is constantly going back to what I'm teaching. I know for me personally, because what I'm teaching is so very prevalent and very like in timely for me as a business owner and as a mother. So as I'm learning more, as I'm having to even rework what a pause looks like for me, what I've found in my own business is the things that I'm being challenged with. 9 times out of 10, when I have to walk through something, like for me, probably 6 months, for a good 6 month chunk, it was the constant toss up between, am I capable? Do I have capacity? And as I really like delved in that, learned and worked out things for myself, then after I felt like I got to a point, then I started noticing there were women who were coming to me with that same test. And so for me, it is always being willing to be a student. So always be willing to keep learning, to keep striving, to keep relearning and unlearning. Rebecca, when you talked about those mindsets and those limiting beliefs, I'm constantly having to unlearn that I can rest. It rest is in a reward. Self-care is not selfish. Like all those things that we're taught, even whether it's verbally or we've caught through culture and society, always being willing to unlearn and relearn in every season because it'll change. The things that worked for me 2 years ago before my daughter was in high school and my son was getting a little older, those things may not work now. And just being able to shift and pivot. I feel like all of us have at some point talked about how we've had to pivot, whether it was our careers, whether it's a mindset. Being able to pivot has helped me. And that is what I would say has shown me what success looks like. And then redefining what success is, like making it truly personal.
Wow. Wow. Golden nugget there. I love how you said redefining what success is for you because it evolves, right? What you defined as success 10 years ago might not be success for you right now. For me, it definitely evolved. Right now, success for me is being able to drop my daughter at school without hurrying up to go catch a train. Oh my gosh, like that every single morning. And I get to hug her, walk her to school. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to God for just blessing me with that. So for me right now, in this season of my life, that is success. And being able to pick her up from school myself every single day. So thank you so much for saying that. Irene?
For me, is not worrying about perfection, but showing up at self and allowing my light to shine. Like, English is my second language. So, for years and years, people told me nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody's going to sit in your chair. You speak funny. So allowing my voice to shine bright and being authentic and not perfect. Perfection is overrated, but true self is what shines bright. And knowing that it's a long haul commitment to my purpose. And I'm committed to not just the yeses and the good times, but the no's is the most important part of our journey. And that makes me successful because I don't give up so easily. I fight for what I believe. And, so that has been the success. I know what I want and I go get it done.
Oh my gosh, yes, I can so relate to everything you just said. The imposter syndrome about English being your second language. I can write a book on that because I left my home country at age 25. That was when I started learning how to speak English because I was from northern Nigeria. So when I started thinking, I want to build an online business, the voice in my head kept telling me, you speak funny. No one is going to hire you. They don't even understand how you speak. So I can so relate to what you said about those of us who English is our second language, we have the imposter syndrome. And I can tell you that now I tell that part of my brain, how is it true? Right now, over 85% of my clients right now are Caucasian. So I ask my brain and I say, oh, it turns out they can actually understand me, how I speak, So it's so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I just want to give one more little thing what changed my life. I took a course many years ago. Now it would be, business coaching. And the gentleman's name is Michael Cohen. And I picked this business hairdressing, and I don't know if I can do this because, I speak funny. And I was like 20 something years old. I said, Irene, that's going to be your gift. They may not remember your name, but they will remember how you sound. So run with it. So that was like, okay, I got it. My accent is my gift. And I'm going for it. And he said, people have to listen to you much more carefully and pay attention. So, and that's, how I said, I shine for the bilingual people, and I want them to know they can do it too. So that's what gets me excited. This is my success, to inspire others to show up just not perfect, but just who they are.
Wow. Wow. So good. Thank you so much. Over to you, Rebecca.
Yes. So I have this mindset now that my business and my life is like this fun project that I just get to play with like every single freaking day of my life. And it's just the best. And I think part of that, when I think back to like, how did I get to that mindset, was this like relentless forcing of myself to turn all of the fears that I had into excitement for what was to come. And now when I feel this fear, right, it's like I'm able, and this is through, of course, years of practice, right? I'm able to think, ooh, okay, this is exciting because I am doing something that's actually making me feel fear now. And that means that I've never done it before. That means that I'm pushing myself to do something that I haven't experienced. And I know that every single time I've done that, I have gotten better, I've gotten further, I've grown the business, whatever it is, right? And I think back to when I was starting my VA business, and even when I left my corporate job, there was so much fear. I feel like everybody has this fear when they leave their corporate job, like, how am I going to make money? Like, what's going to happen? Like, what if nobody wants to work with me? Like, there's all these things that come up. And in that moment, I was terrified. I was literally terrified. And I remember even back then saying, there's no way I'm going to be successful if I keep letting this fear in me, like, run the show and run my mindset and run everything I'm doing. I have to just let it go. I've already taken the leap. I've already quit my job. There's no going back now. I just have to figure out how to make it work. And recognizing that and starting to change that into, okay, this is actually an exciting signal that I'm feeling and not a signal that's telling me to stop, has literally changed everything for me in my business.
Wow. 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 I love that so much. You said turn your fear into excitement for what's to come. I love that so much because, yes, we all feel fear when we are about to do something big. And so I just wrote that down, and I'm going to remind myself every single time I'm afraid. When I'm afraid, I know it's because I'm just about to enter my next level. That's when I know. When I'm afraid, I'm stretching and my next level is calling. Thank you so much for that.
There's a book called Feel the Fear, Do It Anyway. And when you said that, that's what it made me think of. It's an older book. I just pulled it out and I read it recently. But that's true. And she talks about, she's a professor and she does a whole course on fear. But it's that tricking your brain, well, not even tricking, retraining your brain that fear is excitement. It's not something to run from. It's almost something to run into. So
Yeah.
Anyway, you do it afraid. Do it anyway.
Yeah, do it anyway.
Do it.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway, like,
Yeah.
amazing. This was so much fun. I'm going to take a picture of us, and if you follow me, I will and send me some information. I would love to shout you out on my platform. I think this was so amazing. You deserve a spotlight.
Yeah, so good. Well, before we end the show, we have to tell our audience where they can connect with us. So people have listened to you and they're like, oh my gosh, I need your help, Irene. I need your help, Azia and Rebecca. I want you to tell us, how can people connect with you and take the next step? Yeah, you can start Asia. Yes.
Okay, so I am Azia Ranea, so it's AZIA Ranea. I love to play. I always say Instagram is my platform of choice, but you can find me anywhere. And there, in my link, you'll find my website. You'll find my TEDx talk. You'll find my website. You'll even find some free resources. But I have a community of newsletter I do every other week. So I give tips and practical tools to help women, whether you're a mom in business, nonprofit owner, but come find me there. Every Monday I do a midweek check-in, and so we breathe because there's so much power in our breath and we don't take enough time to stop and pause and breathe. And so you'll find a lot of goodies there, and you'll get to see all the crazy, fun, chaotic part of my life as well. So yeah, so find me. I always say find me online. You'll get to learn a little bit more about me, and then I always, of course, share what I'm doing, what offers, where I'm speaking, all those type of things there as well.
So good. That was like you didn't tell us you are a TEDx speaker. Like you should have led with that. We should have explored that more.
So yes, I am a TEDx speaker. It's really part of that. It's funny because you say that that was part of me even having to walk through like, oh, I have a voice. Even it took me I did my TEDx in 2020. I've led TEDx, our local chapter, for a couple of years, but it took me a while to even step into the full shoes of I am a speaker, because I was like, that was an opportunity. I just want to help people. So I honestly am slowly getting very comfortable on the stage, but I'd much rather be back behind the scenes, pushing someone forward, or working with babies.
Yes. So I'm gonna reach out to you for tips on how to land a TEDx gig. Something
Yes.
that's been on my list, but I've not just had the confidence to like explore what the process is.
Oh
But
no,
yeah, I'm inspired
guys,
to.
please do. I love to, especially for women who have a true heart to share like their message beyond just a product. So I
Mm,
always love, I'm a open book. I will share anything I have always.
thank you so much. Over to you, Irene, and then we'll go to Rebecca.
I'm everywhere. I'm in places I don't even know about. So yeah, Facebook is probably my community. The biggest is there. So find me on Facebook, but I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere. LinkedIn,
Okay.
TikTok, Lemonade, and Upscroll. I don't know, all of it. TikTok. Did I say that? Yeah, everywhere, everywhere.
Okay. Awesome. How about you, Rebecca?
Yeah, so you can find me kind of everywhere. You can you can go to Instagram at Rebecca Morassutti. If you need to spell it, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes because
Yes.
it is a hard last name. So Rebecca Morassutti on Instagram. You can also go to RebeccaMorassutti.com, my site. And if you're interested in becoming a VA, you can also head over to The Right Hand Revolution, which is my podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, and we just launched on YouTube as well. So if you want to see me while I'm talking, you can now do that. And I know that a lot of your audience are, business owners already. So if you are looking for a VA, I'm not a VA, full disclosure, I'm not a VA agency, but if you have been trying to find that unicorn person for a while, feel free to just message me on Instagram and I can see, if I can connect you with somebody.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh my gosh. I love, love, love how this episode has panned out. And I want to thank all of you, three of you amazing women, for being on the show today. Thank you so much. Now, to wrap up, I'm going to go around the room. You just give us one sentence, something you would love to say to your 21-year-old self. So think about your 21-year-old self and give us one sentence you want to say to her. We're going to start with Rebecca first, then Irene, then Asia.
Okay. So I think the sentence I would say to my 21-year-old self is that you've always been a rebellious person. You've always known that you're not meant to fit into the box that society has built for you. And you're going to try to do it and you're going to feel like it's not right. And that feeling is something you have to listen to. So make sure that you listen to it and maybe even listen to it a little bit earlier than I actually did in my lived experience. Listen to it and go for it and live the life that you actually want to live every single day.
Wow, so good. How about you, Irene?
um, you are unstoppable, and you will
Mhm.
make your dreams a reality bigger and better than you ever thought about it. Keep shining, keep going, and it's going to be okay.
Mm, wow. It's going to be okay. So good. Asia?
I would tell my 21-year-old self to remember the little girl you were because it all matters.
Mm,
And that you carry peace and calm in chaos.
wow. Peace, calm, and chaos. All of them can exist at the same time. So good.
So good.
Oh my gosh, this has been the most amazing episode. Thank you, ladies, for being on the show today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having us.
Us, yeah.